Klgtc. So this lecture is called Return on Failure. So the outline of this lecture is, first we're going to talk about framework of performance. Then we're going to talk about the performance growth curve, maximizing learning from failure, and what you have to do next. So let's begin with the framework of performance. When we are trying something new, or when we are challenging the status quo of what we think we can do, or what everyone thinks is possible, failure happens. Failing and learning from failure is when we push ourselves beyond our limits, and that's when we grow. So imagine if we gave up the first time we fell down when we were learning how to walk. We would never be running now. Imagine the Wright brothers gave up when they first crashed their airplane. We wouldn't be able to fly. Or imagine if Steve Jobs gave up when he got sacked from his own company. We wouldn't have the iPhone, the iPad, or even Pixar. Imagine if Bill Gates gave up after his first tech business failed. We wouldn't have Microsoft. Failure can be an important and invaluable investment for growth. In order to put failure in a more structured manner and appreciate how failure can help us achieve higher level of performance, let me introduce the performance growth curve. So the performance growth curve is shown in the diagram. So at any point in time, we have an expected level of performance. This is our comfort zone. It's what is expected of us. So this can be academic performance, sports, or even in business. So either customer satisfaction or a number of sales. So between the expected level of performance and the high level of performance, there is a boundary. It's the ceiling of what your current abilities are or what your team's abilities are. So when attempting to cross that boundary, there is failure. If there is an immediate success, that might not be your actual limit. And when there is failure, we try again, but try differently. People say that insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting a different outcome. So maybe to achieve what we set out to do, we would need to learn new skills, assume new attitudes, or try new things. So once we've managed to pass that first boundary, we're at the high level of performance. And going up another level might require additional help to achieve record level of performance. You can also go from the record level of performance to the uncharted territory. So now that we are aware of what the expected level of performances are, we can push the boundaries to go even further. Let's take the performance growth model and apply it to lighting. Before the invention of the light bulb, the main mode of artificial lighting were candles and lamps. When Edison first invented the light bulb in 1879, it opened a whole new performance growth model for artificial lighting. The race to create a light bulb, or shall I say a longer-lasting electrical source of light, began. It took approximately 50 years of attempts and failures before the fluorescent tube light was invented, reaching the high level of performance. And within that high level of performance was attempts and failures, finally creating the compact fluorescent light, pushing the limits of size, efficiency, and lifespan. But breaking the performance barrier in 2006 was the LED. The LEDs were compact, they were cheap, they were relatively safe, efficient, and long-lasting. Attempts and failures in LED lighting innovation and lighting in general will lead to a breakthrough of performance to uncharted territory. So this uncharted territory might include bioluminescence, which doesn't even require electricity to generate light. When attempting to address the aspects of one of the 14 grand challenges, and you are pushing the boundaries of current technology and your current limits, you may repeat the attempt-failure cycle multiple times. It's important to learn from those attempt and failure cycles to improve and push past the existing boundaries of what the solutions are. In order to maximize learning from failure, we are suggesting a return on failure model which would help you to analyze your failure and learn from it. The first section of the return on failure model is to describe the failure or the mistake that you are analyzing. So first of all, you describe the nature of your failure. It could be physical, technical, relational, communication, organizational, or human error. So describe how the failure occurred. What happened when what were you trying to achieve when it happened? So how did the failure impact your team and your progress? So be specific and critical. You can use visuals to help you. The next is to examine the root cause of the failure. It's important to find the root cause of the failure and not just treat the symptoms of it. So you can use various root cause analysis methods. So some examples are the 5 whys. So in the 5 whys, we ask why the failure occurred and ask it 5 times, and usually at the end of the 5 times, we will have found the root cause. You can also use the drill down method. So that is to break the failure down into its different components and understand it from the big picture. You could also use the cause and effect method. That is to create a chart of all the possible causal factors and see where the trouble might have begun. So in the next section, what are the other ways that you could have failed to reach your objectives? So try to predict other ways that the failure could have happened. In the fourth section, describe how would you use the insights that you have found to eliminate or minimize the possible failure in the future. So what did you learn from your failure? How would this help you not fail the same way in the next round? Or what will you do differently or not to repeat the same mistakes? Finally, what are the other key learnings from this failure? It could be a technical failure, but you might have learned a new communication skill from it. So don't give silly answers, be critical. Before we end, I'd like to iterate that return on failure is not an excuse for doing a sloppy job and failing. It's to encourage you to not just come up with the right answers, but to take risks with your ideas and your solutions, to explore unknowns and uncertainties, and push past the limits of what you and your team are capable of. And in doing that, know that failing is okay. So what do you have to do next? So select a failure that you or your team has encountered throughout the duration of the competition and complete a return on failure analysis. So that's all from now. Thank you.